Thank you. Here we go. So we're here to make different choices together. We chose this theme this year because we've got a real opportunity in front of us. And I would say a responsibility to concretize in practice notions of care and consent in this sector. And we need that in order to fundamentally shift our organizational cultures. That's what we're talking about today. And part of what we want to be able to do with the theme of making different choices is to explore new models of leadership and individual actions. We've got to build that collective power within our complex systems so that change can be ushered in. And that's why the CIVICUS Changemakers program is the perfect group of folks to kick off day 2 in this conversation. Absolutely, all of them are folks who are embodying really grounded and rooted leadership that's making real shifts in their locations and their places all around the world. Our aid system isn't set up to actually support the activists on the ground. It's actually quite the opposite. So we're going to sit in that complexity, that tension, and acknowledge the harm that has been done at this time, but also the new ways of being that will move us all and build more power together. So in true form, in true form of healing solidarity, we want to be able to offer a centering practice, something that grounds us in ourselves, in our places that we are. So I'm going to invite you all, if it feels comfortable to you, if it feels feasible to you, if it feels important to you, to take a moment, close your eyes, off your cameras if you care to, and stay with me as a moment as I offer up a poem, 2 poems, to bring us into this space today, written by activists, people who are building that collective power and thinking differently about how we build the world. So I invite you to take a deep breath and feel the breath as it enters your body and as it exits. Stretch and move in the ways that help you feel more present. And with each breath, receive these words. The first poem is called When the Lights Go Out. For some who are in South African jails, written by Mangani Wally Sorote in 1975. It is with the shadows of night when the sun comes and goes, the moon comes and goes, that we ask in weary voices, which fall into the depth of the gulf. How does it feel to be you, watching and waiting, to feel the heavy weight of every minute come, followed by another, and nothing, even everything written in blood, says nothing about how we could wake up tomorrow and build the day. Can we tell you, the children of a long hour, a long night, that hope never befriends fools? Yes, time and absolute eloquence can erase our faces. Remember Sharpeville? In those days, violence and disaster were articulate, and now today you watch and wait. So one day hope begins to walk, and it whispers about the twisted corpses that we saw sprawled across the streets on this knowledgeable earth, the tears, the blood, the memory, and the knowledge which was born by every heavy minute that we carried across the wilderness, where there were no paths, where screams echoed.
Lo siento, Dahlia, que ahora debería ser.
There is no hope, that hope begins to walk again. Like we said.
Teniendo unas complicaciones porque Jennifer está hablando muy rápido.
Rashid, written last year. called We Fell Asleep in One World and Woke Up in Another. Suddenly, Disney is out of magic. Paris is no longer romantic. New York doesn't stand up anymore. The Chinese wall is no longer a fortress and Mecca is empty. Hugs and kisses become suddenly weapons, and not visiting parents and friends becomes an act of love. Suddenly you realize that power, beauty, and money are worthless and can't get you the oxygen you're fighting for. The world continues its life, and it is beautiful. It only puts humans in cages. I think it's sending us a message. You are not necessary. The earth, air, water, and sky, without you are fine. When you come back, remember that you are my guests, not my masters. Thank you all for receiving those
Gracias a
flowers.
todos.
And to those of you who are new,
Para las
newly
personas,
joined, we welcome you. We're very glad you're here. You're right on time because we haven't really got yet into what's going to happen today, which we're excited to share with you. As Healing Solidarity, when we thought about our conference this year, the context is that everyone and their dog is having an online conference now. When we started, that was a big deal. It's not anymore. And what we are experiencing is that these are very flat experiences. It's just passive listening. People are still checking their emails. No one's really present. So what we want to also acknowledge is that that presentational model of conferences, it just reinforces this notion of the expertise that's needed. And what we're trying to do in this session together is disrupt that. We know that people offer so much wisdom when we're invited into deep listening and dialogue together. And so what we're aiming to do right now is to practice that together, to make visible what it means to nurture relationships and trust at this time, and really acknowledge how much shared understanding can come from emergent processes. So we're going to confess we don't know what's going to happen in the next hour and a half together. We like it. We think this is fun because we are building our tolerance for not knowing. So, and I will say that every day at this time, we're having these in-between conversations in recognition that we're in between the world we want to build and where we are now. We kind of don't know the way through, but together we do. So we're weaving every day a thread that weaves the new ideas and teases out threads and practices and pulls it all together. This is not a one-off dumping of knowledge. This is we are part of a very long conversation about how we build a better world. So welcome. For those of you who are new to the space, I want to just pause also and say that there is simultaneous interpretation happening. Therefore, if you would like to listen in Spanish, you can join, you can see the icon at the bottom of the screen, say interpretation, and it'll have a kind of what represents it. You can choose.
It's okay, love, don't worry about it. They can't see us. Can't hear us though.
Sorry. We ask everybody to choose either English or Spanish as we go forward now. This will allow our guests who are presenting in Spanish to hear the full conversation.
a las personas que están aquí, yo soy Sara.
Two languages to be
En
used.
español o en inglés para que puedan oír todo.
Go ahead and make that selection now. We'll continue to remind people, but just know that that is happening. All right. So we've got that, and now we've got this thing called a fishbowl. We are trying a new technique. When you have a fishbowl,
Pero una nueva técnica.
a fishbowl looks like this. You've got a small circle of people, and people are sitting, a few of the people of the group are sitting in that circle. And they're having a conversation that those of us on the outside are observing, listening to, having our own thoughts. And when we're ready, we get to enter into that fishbowl. We actually ask someone to give up their seat so that we can sit in the small inner circle together. And so that is, whether you've experienced that in real life or not, that's what we're attempting to do right now on the Zoom. So my invitation to everyone here in the Zoom room today, to jump in and contribute to this conversation. And in fact, we need you to make this experiment work. It worked yesterday. We're going to keep trying to make it work. But think of your screen. We're going to have spotlighted our conversation catalyst to begin. And as that conversation proceeds, we just want you to pop in. We want you to write into the chat when you're ready, tap, tap. And what that will signal to us is that someone is tapping us in the inner circle to request to be with us in the inner circle, to join that intimate conversation. My goodness, we really are excited to have what you have to say into this. And we're really, really, really excited to welcome the CIVICUS Grassroots Changemakers to be our conversation catalyst today. And before we introduce them, we will just say that in the inner circle and the outer circle, those who are spotlighted and those who are not, it will be dynamic. We will go back and forth. The conversation catalysts who begin might tap, tap, and come back in. The idea is that we're in conversation together. And that
Estamos en la conversación juntos.
And also for it to work, we do want to offer some invitations about how we are together in this space, in this time. I'm going to put these in the chat as well. And this just gives us some parameters of how to be in conversation with each other. The first principle, invitation, ground rule, I don't know, whatever language you use. But the point of it is that we are here to learn from each other, not to critique each other. We spend all day in problem analysis. So let's operate from the idea that we all have something to gain from this interaction together. We will say that this is a brave, but not necessarily a safe space. I am willing to be challenged in this moment, and I invite you to join me there, to be pushed outside of our comfort zones, because that's where the good stuff is. We operate by consent. So all of the activities today are opt-in and opt-out. There's no requirements, there's no must, there's no have to, there's no supposed to. The idea is that we're here by our free will. One of the ways that we can also be really disciplined around our not misrepresenting ourselves or the people we're a part of is to claim and speak from I, not we. So everyone here has some common interests, or you here, but it's so important not to generalize or assume a universal lived experience. We've all got differences in race and ethnicity and gender, wealth and class and education. Good. We need those differences. And one of the ways we can make sure we're only speaking from our own experience is to speak from the I. And finally, in the invitation to jump into the inner circle, to jump into the fishbowl, we want you to dare to be unprepared. Well, I say be unprepared because all day long we have to be precise and we have to be perfect, and we put all this pressure on ourselves, but we are here to value progress over perfection. And when we spend our time measuring what we're going to say, it takes us out of active listening. So you're here today to be imperfect and authentic. And here we go. Welcome to the experiment. That was a lot of setting us up, but I'm ready. I'm really, really excited and ready to hand this over to our conversation catalyst. If we could get the spotlight going. More tech gurus. All right. For those that are new, as we're getting the spotlight ready, just please know that you're welcome. And you're also welcome to choose whether you'd like to listen to this conversation in English or Spanish. Bottom, you can click translation or interpretation, excuse me, and choose either English or Spanish. We're waiting for our CIVICUS friends to be spotlighted now. Also, we welcome silence. How often do we get to be silent together in our day jobs? How often are we invited into patience instead of urgency? Julia says she accepts our invitations with trepidation. Thank you. Thank you. You always get to opt out. That's the great part. So we're bringing on the CIVICUS Changemakers right now. We need all of them pinned. Is that happening?
I'm trying, but I can't find everyone because there's so many people on this call. There are 4 on the screen with you now.
Okay,
Are you seeing that? Are other people seeing that?
I only see you.
Oh. Okay, hold on. Why is that? I don't know why that is. I see 5 people on my screen. Okay.
We can ask everybody here if anybody has any advice for us in the chat about spotlighting multiple people in Zoom. There's usually expertise in the room. Is it that you are in gallery as opposed to speaker? I've checked both.
Can I ask people that are on this call what they can see?
I can just see everybody's screens like
Okay.
normal.
Okay.
Are you user? Are you the main person?
Okay, I know. Okay,
You
so
host.
I think I know what it is now. Okay. Sarah, how do I spotlight more than one person? It's not letting me.
Maybe they also have to have their videos on the Changemakers.
Okay.
Maybe. I'm not sure, but maybe. If we try that.
Yes.
Yeah, they do need to have their videos on.
Yeah, so
Otherwise, you
Naro's
can't
on.
spotlight them.
Yeah.
Oh.
And Dahlia, ¿puedes ponerte la cámara activa?
That's
Sí.
why.
A ver, Dahlia, ¿dónde estás?
Thank you, everyone.
Yay.
Who am I missing? Oh,
Thank you all for your patience.
And I also think like right now, if I choose speaker view, I can see the people who spotlighted, but if you still remain on gallery, you will see everyone. So I think for the people,
Yes.
for us, we have to choose speaker if we want to see only the people in the center of the fishbowl.
All right. Are we missing anyone? Do we have everyone?
Thais doesn't have her their video on.
No, I'm not a speaker. It's just the four of
Oh,
them.
okay, sorry. So then we have everyone. Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, lovely. Oh, well, here we are. We've arrived, and we're so glad and grateful to welcome some of the members, some of the group of the Grassroots Changemakers program at CIVICUS.
CIVICUS.
I'm going to ask each one of them to say something about themselves, to introduce themselves, to locate themselves, and then we'll get started. Could I ask Dahlia to begin for us?
Hola, yo soy mexicana, vivo en México, me llamo Dahlia de la Cerda y no sé qué más quieran saber acerca de mí.
Yo soy, buenos días, yo soy mexicana, vivo en México. Mi nombre es Dahlia y no sé qué, de la Cerda, y no sé qué más quieren saber. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hello, my name is Dahlia.
Thank you.
De la Cerda, and I am from Mexico. I live in Mexico, and I don't know what else you want to know.
Dahlia, would you like to share a little bit about your day-to-day activism? What are the issues you're working on?
Ok, yo trabajo el tema de la justicia reproductiva enfocado sobre todo al acceso al aborto en los lugares donde el aborto es un crimen, pero también tenemos algunos otros proyectos sobre
I'm working.
damos talleres de derechos sexuales y reproductivos en contextos de alta marginación, trabajamos mucho el tema de los fundamentalismos religiosos y de las nuevas narrativas dentro del activismo feminista.
Dahlia,
Básicamente en lo que estoy enfocada en este momento, sobre todo en el tema de los fundamentalismos religiosos y de las nuevas narrativas.
Dahlia, I don't know if Dahlia is listening to me. Can Dahlia hear me?
No.
No, I guess not. That was my issue. Well, she went too fast and it was hard to translate everything, but basically she spoke that she is concerned with reproductive justice. She works a lot of around the theme of abortion, which trying to stop the criminalization of abortion. And right now, there's a lot of work that they're doing in Mexico to avoid that law that makes abortion a criminal act. If somebody could ask Dahlia if she could repeat the last part, please, because she can't hear him as far as I understand.
I think the heart means that she is ready and here.
Dalia pregunta a la intérprete si puedes repetir la última parte que dijiste que no te escuchó y quizás ir un poquito más lento porque le está costando llevarte el ritmo. Entonces, para que pueda tener ella tiempo de escucharte y pausar y interpretar.
Sí, claro. En este momento estoy enfocada sobre todo en el tema de los fundamentalismos religiosos, sobre cómo argumentan, cómo se organizan y cuáles son sus estrategias, y en las nuevas narrativas dentro del movimiento feminista.
Right now,
Cómo
I'm
argumentar
concerned.
mejor, sobre algunos temas complejos como el tema del aborto.
Right now, I'm more concerned with the fundamentalism of religion. I'm interested in learning of how they work, what they think, and how they work around all these issues, especially everything that has to do with abortion, and from a feminist perspective. Yeah, Dahlia.
Thank you, Dahlia. Thank you, Sonia. I want to ask Christina to introduce herself and welcome her.
Sure. So, hello everyone. My name is Christina. I'm from Madagascar. I'm a climate activist. This is very important since my country is among the most impacted, the most vulnerable countries regarding climate change impact. I'm also, and in that on that specific question, I'm mobilizing youth. But I'm wearing several hats. I'm also a gender advocate, an ecofeminist, and last but not the least, I'm a social entrepreneur working on green for a greener economy. And that's it.
Ecológica.
Christina, thank you. Sam has his camera off. Naro, welcome. How would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Maayong adlaw. So beautiful day to everyone here, wherever you are. As you can see, it's night time on my end. So hopefully you are also in different times of day. So it's a very beautiful moment to share where we all feel timelessness. Like in this space, it's like we have different times as well. But I'm Naro. I'm from the Philippines. I'm a wellness activist. I mainly, and I also write poetry, and I'm also a psychotherapist in training. I'm part of Caring for Activists, which is a collective that provides psychosocial and mental health support to social justice defenders. This was launched more powerfully when during the enactment of the anti-terror law, which basically transformed activism as a terrorist act in the Philippines. So we are fighting against that. And I'm really happy and proud to be with my colleagues, my comrades, my kasama here in this space to share with you our own lived experiences. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thanks, Naro. Sam, how are you? Are you able to come online?
Okay. It's a pleasure to meet all of you. My name is Samuel Sebit, Emmanuel, but I have the AKA name, Samse Sam. I am a social justice activist, and majorly my work relates on peace building, governance, and democracy and development in particular. So based on the background of South Sudan, you all might have read about the conflicts, the vicious cycles of conflict that has been going through. So this has pushed me into advocacy.
En Sudán del Sur, donde vivo.
So I'm also a musician. I write songs and be able to produce them in that aspect and to push in terms of the advocacy strategy here. So I've produced many peace building songs so far that I've gotten, I think, to so many awards, particularly about that. And I'm happy really to be here as well. And as an activist, I'm so happy that yes, I'm part of this creative and amazing Changemakers team of CIVICUS trying to push for change at the grassroots level. So I look forward to sharing a lot. Thank you from my side. Greetings from South Sudan.
So happy to have you, Sam. Thank you. The Grassroots Changemakers program is so multifaceted. It would be impossible to really describe it. But all of these activists you see before you have been in relationship with each other over the past year, and have a campaign they're brewing, like a bit of tea, like a bit of beer that they are brewing together. And so we are getting a window into their process, into their relationships that they've built with each other. And they're going to kick off our conversation today by sharing a bit of how they relate to their work, their relationships to each other, and to this theme of
the change makers.
They are all actively working to make different choices and to help their communities make choices together around building collective power. So I turn to them now and let them go for it. Yeah, thank you all for being here. I'm going to put into the chat more information on the program. And I'm going to ask Dahlia to help us begin to frame some new questions for this moment.
Bueno, en Civicus la campaña que tenemos actualmente es para visibilizar la importancia del trabajo de base que hacen las organizaciones de base, el activismo de base, pero digamos que quitándole todos los mitos que hay alrededor, tanto los buenos como los malos, y presentando a los y a las activistas como personas, ni como villanos, ni como superhéroes, y que se entienda que al ser personas tenemos emociones, tenemos necesidades, comemos, nos cansamos, nos ponemos tristes, y que con base en esta humanización de nosotras, nosotros, como activistas, los donantes empiecen a trabajar de una forma más horizontal, teniendo en cuenta las necesidades que tenemos, desestigmatizando nuestro trabajo y poniendo en el centro otro tipo de relaciones donde lo importante sea la sanación colectiva, la cooperación colectiva, que nos dejen de ver como caridad y empiecen a vernos como iguales, que estamos trabajando.
Okay. Sarah, can you make me, can I have a link with Dahlia?
Como iguales para construir relaciones más horizontales y para que haya nuevas prácticas en las que lo importante sea la solidaridad mutua y
I can continue.
la sanación colectiva. Y de mi parte es
Sonia, are you saying you're not able to tell us what Dahlia just said?
Yeah, I can translate, but I've lost a lot because she kept talking. There's a way that I need for her to see me so that I can ask her to stop.
I just posted
Now I
a
have
chat
my
box what
anyway.
Dahlia just said. I was typing while she was speaking, so you can just read there.
Thais has offered us in the chat a nice
summary. Meanwhile, let me translate the first part.
Yes, do that.
She works with grassroots groups, and their main concern is to get grassroots to think and consider what it means to be a person. It's not only thinking if it's a good person or a bad person. The main issue is that we are all human beings and that we have to learn to be with one and another. This is our main concern as Civicus Mexico. And The second part, she talked more about, and I wish that she could repeat that part because she was talking on how they deal with the way in which they talk with the people, but I kind of got lost trying to stop her. So please forgive me, but we didn't make an agreement on how we can stop it. So I don't know, Sarah, if you could ask Dahlia to please repeat the second part and to look at me, because when I put my hand like this, that you can know that she can slow down or stop for a while so that I can translate, please. And please forgive me, but I'm trying to catch up with her. She has a lot of good ideas, so that's why I don't want to miss anything.
Thank you, Sonia. Let's see if Dahlia comes back on and can offer that last part again.
Dahlia, ¿quieres compartir un poquito más?
Thais also share.
No, de mi parte sería todo.
Go ahead, Dahlia.
Sí, sí te escucho.
Thank you, Thais. So that let's move on to another of the change makers who's with us.
Un poquito.
Insights about what the program is and how they're working and thinking about making different choices.
La última parte, ok. A ver si recuerdo. Pero
Let's keep going. Thank you, Dahlia. Thank you, Sonia. Christina, I saw you starting to.
bueno, si la campaña de CIVICUS está enfocada en desestigmatizar el trabajo que hacemos las y les activistas, no solamente de que no somos villanos, sino que tampoco somos superhéroes, que somos seres humanos con necesidades, que se cansan, que se ponen tristes, que tienen hambre. Entonces, está, digamos, lo que mal visto que las personas activistas reciban un salario, reciban ayuda médica, reciban apoyo para comer, y lo que tratamos de modificar es que se entienda que necesitamos tener una calidad de vida adecuada, digna, para poder seguir trabajando, y que a partir de que se nos vea, ¿sí?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, the other main concern is working with artists. And she says, we want people to know that we're also human beings, that we have needs, that we have desires, that we have happiness. And because of that, we are very happy to get some incomes from being artists, but many times they don't consider that we also have other needs and that we have to have a way of getting around with people.
So important. Thank you, Dahlia.
Pues que a partir de que se nos empiece a ver como personas, como seres humanos, se modifiquen las relaciones que tenemos con donantes y sea una relación más horizontal, que esté pensada para la sanación colectiva y para dignificar el trabajo que realizamos, y no tanto en las exigencias que son más de forma que de fondo.
And we want people to know that we are human beings and to be treated as such. And for that, what we want is to have a direct relation with the donors, because we need to explain to them our needs, why we need to be considered as human beings. And for that, we have to appeal to them, showing them our needs and what and how we can relate directly with them.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sonia. Thank you, Dahlia. Who else would like to jump in and keep the conversation going?
I can be next. So once again, hi everyone. I'd like to just highlight something that Dahlia just shared, because this is really one of the spirit of our campaign.
Quería
As
compartir
activists, we are not superheroes.
que como
Of course,
activistas no
even if
somos
in reality we
superhumanos.
sacrifice a lot, we are receiving threats. Our family life, our personal life can be affected too by the work that we are doing. Whereas in parallel, we do not have enough consideration sometimes from our own population, sometimes from our government. They can consider us as political opponents. Sometimes from donors, they consider that it's not that safe to work with activists. It's better to work with more formal structural organizations. So we want to change this part of the narrative. We want to, with our campaign. So we actually started by creating this small team of grassroots change makers. We all come from different countries. So I'm from Madagascar, Dahlia is from Mexico, Samuel from South Sudan, Naro from Philippines. We also have Nawal, who is from Zambia. We have different contexts, we have different battles, but we thanks to this campaign, we were able to create, like, let's say, a new family. We often meet, discuss each other. We share this burden of what it is to be an activist. We even create some space for some space just to relax together, to have some fun. Most of the members know that I love drinking wine, for example. They know that, and they know that the next time, for the first time, will be when we'll finally meet, because we have been together for few months, but only online because of this pandemic. But despite that, we were able to create some bonds, and some strong bonds, I think. And now our challenge is also to support other grassroots activists just like us, to show that this solidarity is also possible.
Pero estamos intentando encontrar otros activistas en el mundo.
Too much, and yes, don't forget about the fun. Don't forget about our personal life. Despite our strong battles, we still need to think about ourselves too. That's it. Thank you.
Hello, I just wanted to follow Tina, right? Tina earlier shared about her liking wine, no? And it might seem such a very simple piece of information, but it's a piece of information that you will never ever get from a fellow activist in a formal activist space. We don't talk about that. We talk about our advocacies. We talk about what we're fighting for. We talk about our impact, our effectiveness, our budget, what we're struggling with, maybe. We talk about our organizations, our development. And all the time we put on this role, and we wear this identity of having it all together, and that we're here, we're constantly in fighter warrior mode. And I think in all of the engagements I've attended in the past, that's the role that I would wear. But what we're trying out here is not just having that space for fun, but learning to accept even vulnerability, to be vulnerable with each other. And I work with activists on a daily basis. And that is one thing that everyone would always say that is the scariest. If they become vulnerable, what happens then to all the communities that we are fighting for? If we admit for just even one day that we're exhausted and we're tired, or we're angry too, or we're too overwhelmed, or if we have mental health concerns, what happens then to the movement? So it feels as though you can't even stop. And so we nurture this culture of martyrdom wherein all of us are suffering. Because as what has been shared by Dahlia as well, if you look at just a single day in the life of an activist, where we are stigmatized by the public, we are persecuted by the military and the government, and we are unable to get resources because we are too political, because we are not non-partisan. I don't even understand what that means. Or we are too risky to be supported by. Like, what happens then to us? And in a way, I think this is something that Tina shared in a most intimate way. And that is, are we even still human? Do you see us as human? When you praise us, for example, in the United Nations for activists doing the work, do you look at us as human beings, or are we superheroes who have all this together, like who are able to fight despite having so many stresses and stressors with no support? And we still go about our day doing this activism. Is there even time to have fun, to drink wine with each other here as activists? Or even, and most importantly even, to go beyond the activist space and with donors, enablers, other citizens, do we have time to just, tell them, I'm not actually doing okay? Or now I think I just want to talk about wine or just have fun. Have we ever had that opportunity? And I think that's something I'd like to hear more from Samuel as well. Like, how human do you feel as an activist?
I guess that's already an invitation to the circle now. It's always fun to really come together and be able to talk about these things. And I just want to pick up from that question. Do actually, do you look at us activists as human beings? It's just a question that I think we need to start internalizing. And so many times in the context, basically in the global south, and I want to narrate back down to South Sudan also, you find that when people hear you're an activist, they think about a very, very big person, an extraordinary person who've got all the resources they need. So they feel like for you, you're pushing out for so many, you're advocating for change, you're pushing a lot. So that means we have a lot of resources to really even care for ourselves. But the dark thing behind the scenes is that so many times we as activists sacrifice our own resources to even be able to organize informal kind of discussions, bringing together relations like groups that were able to sit and discuss about our challenges. So nobody thinks about that. Even in the angle of funds, when it comes around there, you would even see that when they give you a bit of a grant, they say, you know what, we're giving you 5,000, and this 5,000, it's just going direct for activity costs. You don't have to bring in, you're not going to pay, and you actually don't have an office rent here. You don't have some money to get even for even your own staff. But then the question comes in, if you need to see impact, how can we bring that impact? Yet the human being who is the activist, who's supposed to go down and change narratives, is not actually well motivated. It's something that all the time keeps surrounding us and from our everyday work that we do as activists, not only even here in South Sudan, but I guess it's everywhere in some of where my colleagues comes from. we've had a lot of time to really sit down to co-design and come up with this campaign. You've seen that almost the challenges we're setting are all related to each other. You think it's only here in this particular context, but also somewhere it happens. And nevertheless, how do we transform our relationships from here, which is the center of our discussion, particularly, and for that matter, even one of the core ideal of our campaign that we were trying to push for change. So you find that we've seen the spaces are actually shrinking so much between activists and then the funders themselves and enablers. And one of the key challenge is the question of trust. Do you trust us? Do funders trust us as activists that yes, you know, they can do something? Or we only have to work with those that we've already built that relationship with? In our context here, you see that many times as funders, they would prefer working with those activists or organizations that they are already in connection with. And then those that do not have, but have beautiful ideas that they want to transform their societies are always locked out. And then when you ask, you know, we don't trust you, how can we be able to give you the money? You might run away with our things, you know, and it becomes difficult. And this is like a very serious thing that is happening. And then you look also around so many organizations here that are maybe at the medium level now. They'll say, for us, we're going to apply for this grant. For example, the internet, the UN-led organizations and many others. We're going to apply for this grant. It's a multi-million grant. So what happens is when we succeed, we will sub-grant then that in reality. So like when they get this money and then they'll be telling you, you know, we're going to sub-grant to you. At the end of the day, what comes to you is just like a drop. And when this drop comes, you're forced to do a lot of work with something so small. And the huge part of this goes to either to cater for their administrative costs, their office. We got burnout, we cannot be able even to perform our work sometimes. So these are things that for us, we always face a lot. Now, one of the ways we're trying really to be able to heal from some of these challenges, as we're seeing, how can we not be able to bring in, maybe redesign our relationships with funders and even our fellow activists and enablers. We're looking at now, some of the things I just want to say that with the campaign we've started already is we have got the jam sessions. Now these jam sessions are informal kind of events that we organize and we invite activists from other angles to come together and be able to interact. So this space is for them to dialogue, is another way giving them the chance to be able to share their stories, their experiences, and then also how the positive ways that they're doing to transform already some of these challenges they're facing through. And then now we're also looking at then what do we need to do. For example, here we are trying to see a way of having to have organized meetups. Now, how do we get these meetups? These are many groups of conversations that you're able to organize at our levels. I believe even my fellow colleagues are doing in their respective countries. We just come in together, you meet over a cup of tea. And then like, for example, here we have what we call the TTT, like take tea together. So when you're taking tea together, so what is happening is that we will sip our teas, you have your glass, and then you're there, we're sitting around. So we throw in questions on how we can be able to improve our relationships and then what are the challenges we're facing. How can we really collectively work together to make sure we change this kind of narrative? But then also ideally, I think for us now to really look to look at the enablers. So the more we're able to invite these people into our spaces, I think the more we'll create an opportunity for them to learn more about the challenges that we face every day as activists, and then can open up a way forward for us to build from there. There's a ranking of relationships now, and then also, I think on the side of the donors, I want to say is that now for us to be able to improve these relationships, I think it is important that we're co-designing now the dialogues or the common dialogues and many others. So these dialogues will be spaces where we invite the donors to come together to listen to us as we were able to discuss. But we also want to hear, because we cannot push so much that, yeah, you know, they are not doing the right thing. Maybe somewhere, somehow, there is something behind the curtains that we are not aware that is making them try actually to make things very difficult for us. So we want to see them coming into this space, and then they're able, we can talk about the challenges we're facing on our perspective as activists. And then also we want to hear from them as donors, for example, what are your policies? What are the things you want us to do? For example, if you're trying to apply for funds from your side, do you allow us, for example, to apply when we just have 1 year of existence? Because some of you say for us to qualify, we need to have been existing for the last 5 years, and then you need to have audited reports. But then, like, the question is, if we don't give these people this, how do we empower them to be able to have this space? And one scenario is that recently I had a dialogue with the activists in Yay, and they were saying, now you're telling us to provide audited reports, but even in the grants that you're giving us, you don't even allow us to allocate some money for auditing. So how does that come out now? So these are all challenges that really activists on the grounds are really facing a lot. So it's one of the things that we see now. This kind of campaign should be something that the dialogues we need to have to ensure that yes, we have them here. Let them hear really from us on the ground what is happening. But also we want to see now as funders, as enablers, what are your suggestions in case we might not be doing things right? How can we improve better? Because we feel like improvement is both sides. If we have our challenges, tell us, this time we don't do it, but then this one, like this, we're able to do it. So can you be able to adjust yourselves to do 1, 2, 3? There we are. Okay. As it came out that I recently had a conversation with I think one of the local funders, and they were like, the issue of the trust, as I emphasized before, is that we don't know you. So if you don't know us, we cannot work with you. We only work with the people we know. But if we're all contributing towards one thing, like changing, the narratives, we want to see development, we want to see impact in whatever we're doing. Even you as a funder, you're giving some projects, so you're investing in this project because you want to see the impact. You believe it is something that can be able to transform lives. But then if you only believe that one person can transform lives, it is not possible. For us to be able to transform all these narratives, we need to work together. I think I like in the start, I think Jennifer, you talked about when you're trying to take us through the tour of those beautiful things at Sierra. You talked about something called, is it Biba or something? That to you, that one looks like something that for us to move, we actually need to depend on each other. So then it's the same way. For us to be able to improve on these changes, we need to depend on each other as activists, as enablers, as funders. We need to have that space. So we cannot be able to depend on each other if we don't trust ourselves. So we have to start building trust from here. When we build trust, we're able to give the opportunity for us to learn, and we can collectively work together and be able to see so many change. So I don't want to talk a lot, really. So, but this is something that I just want to say, and thank you so much. I really love this roundtable. I guess we'll be here still to speak more. Thank you. This is what I can say so far.
Yeah, so much of what you said. If you see the chat, Sam, it's like people, it's clicking, it's clicking. So we do want to pause for a moment and just remind everyone, especially those who maybe have joined late, if you want to join this circle, this group of folks in the chat, you can just write tap tap. You are tapping our shoulder and you want to enter into the conversation, and we'll very much welcome you. We have one. Asel is coming in. Thank you, Asel.
Yay, thank you so much. It's just Samuel's words moved me so much, because I work with trust a lot as a concept. And what I'm realizing more and more, I think, as humanity, we have somehow developed, I would say, wrong criteria for who we should trust. And I think we're so dependent on external evidence of, like Samuel was saying, that, do you really trust if we have an auditor's report, right? Do you really trust if we have a 1 year experience or 2 years? So in other words, we, like, even donors, but even human beings, I think we have developed this idea that we can only trust if ABC happens, instead of, like, we are in the context of criminal offense. I used to work with refugees in detention, and there the interesting concept is that we trust from the beginning that you didn't do anything wrong. So in other words, from the beginning, we trust people no matter what happens, unless we prove that wrongdoing. So in other words, I think human beings are, I think, at the point where we need to redefine the meaning of trust in every area of our lives. And I would love to advocate for trusting, especially when there is no evidence available or without even requiring any evidence. Trusting for the intentions, trusting for the goals and where we're going, rather than trusting for things that they have done in the past. So we're so focused on the past, but rather let's focus on the future, where a lot of possibilities are available if we trust it, right? So that's why I just wanted to share that I think we are on the right track with people like Samuel and others who can change the meaning of trust and let donors look at it from a different perspective. No longer the criteria of evidence, but rather criteria could be your vision, criteria could be your intentions, criteria could be your ambition, your passion. Yeah.
Thanks, Asel. I also think of an indicator of trust that we could invest a lot more in is someone's embeddedness in their own community. Like, how much does this organization or person really represent the people that they are in relationship with? Because the big city organizations, not so much, right?
Yeah, that's amazing, Jennifer. I so agree.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yes, and Yesenia, thanks for joining.
Thank you, Jennifer. I just read a comment in the chat and I thought I want to highlight that. Someone just said that it was really nice to see activists talking so freely, right? And to me, that is a bit of like a aha moment, right? Like, oh, right. And I think part of our conversations as we were co-creating this campaign and getting to know each other, and thinking, how can we impact and influence the resourcing community, donors, international organizations, and everyone who has resources and can support grassroots activists. And one of the things is precisely that. Are you talking to them? Are you listening to them, to them say what that's really in their heads and their hearts and their true visions, because I think even as, in CIVICUS, we have different programs to give grants and support to people. And I think usually you have that contact in which you read a proposal. So they write, and I think we have had these conversations with the grassroots changemakers too. Like, we write what the donor wants to hear. Like they're training that, they don't want to waste time. Of course, they would love to say everything they want to say, but if the donors are not going to read it, and so people are kind of trained to say what donors want to hear, or what Naro was saying, you put on your role, you show up in the meeting, in the webinar, and you don't have a space, or activists don't have that space, and donors probably also don't have that space. And I think that's part of our conversations too, that the activists, the change makers were saying. We know that donors are also people. Donors are not an organization. There's a person there. And we don't have that space to hear what they have to say beyond or outside their role as an institution or a donor institution. And we don't have a space where we as activists can really come and say what we fear, what we want, what our communities want. And in that way, that is free, that is not rehearsed, written, in a way that sounds like a development report, that sounds, I show impact, but I also show that I know what I'm, but just really say what's happening, what they want, what are the visions of their communities, what are the changes that they want and need to see in their communities, speak about their humanity. That is one of the pillars of the change that the activists want to see, so part of the campaign with the grassroots activists is that, how do we create those spaces? How we make different choices so that people can speak freely, so that we can connect more humanely. Activists between activists, because they have highlighted this, it's not only that donors, it's sometimes that between activists, they don't have also the time, the resources, the spaces to talk to each other at tea time, or how Samuel was saying, just to speak, unload about their day-to-day life, but also with allied organizations, spaces like these where you're speaking, an activist that is working in the front lines in South Sudan, like Sam, with a NGO worker, that it's here in the north, like we are, some of us are, and also with the donor, with the institution, with the donor, the person, like how can we as in the system, in the make the changes and make the different decisions and put the resources and put the advocacy, put our voices to make that happen, so that we can have those surprisingly, be surprised and say, oh, it's really nice when people speak freely, it's like, yeah, it's so basic, but here we are, surprised, and I think it's really amazing. I think for us, it's been the journey at CIVICUS that we're like, wow, this is so amazing just to speak to activists with that vulnerability, but also that closeness, as Tina was saying. So we know that Tina's favorite thing is wine, and that, that we know each other in that way, and that we care for each other, and that we know when someone's family is going through something, or someone's community is going through something, so that we can understand maybe why deadlines are not met, and why we are working at a slower pace, why we, when someone needs more support to achieve this or that. So I think part of that is a reflection that we want to promote, right? With this campaign, with this call for let's get together, let's speak, and let's create those spaces so that we can speak freely, humanely, and allowing ourselves all these, so that we can then change the system. So, okay, so if we do that, how then we change grants? How do we change the rest of the things, the system? So I think, yeah, that's definitely part of what we want to do, that we have heard activists want to do, because I think part of the value of these is that activists are saying it's not us, like, trying to guess. But yeah.
Yeah, I was, as I hear you, Yesenia and Asel, and think about what the Changemakers offered into the space, as you described the triple T, Sam, the taking tea together, and just knowing what we know about the reality that you are facing, that context that you've given us for your activism. It strikes me, as someone who's been more on the donor side than the activist side in my life, that to offer a tea with you, to be offered a tea with you, not to uplift you as hero, but to really recognize the generosity of that offer requires something different from me, donor, right? So you are inviting me in to know your world, to be with you in solidarity, is a sacred offering, is in amidst all the things that you're holding, saying, learn with us, be with us, co-create with us, be human with us. Like, I just want to honor that offering. There's such generosity and humanity in that offering. And that's where I feel like, as a sector, if we're not oriented to like the best support for activists, we're missing the mark. Yeah, I just want to offer that. And I'd love to hear from you or any of the other change makers, like, how do you relate to that generosity that of spirit that invites more people in?
Your question again?
No, but when it comes to, amidst everything you're doing, having the willingness to invite donors in for their own learning, people who you might have had tough relationships with, like, how do you summon the generosity?
So just like us as human beings, because we are human beings, and I want us to pick the conversation from that aspect, that as we're seeing sometimes as superheroes, that is not true. It's just a fallacy around. So now we are very much open, for example, to be able to have the conversations with funders who have never got the opportunity to listen to us, to what we're going through. Because for us, I think we want to see change of mindsets, change of policies in all this. And then that's why we have the dialogues that are happening, and we have the jam sessions. So like if we're organizing this, these are spaces we can be able to have them come in, and then it's just like an informal, it can be informal kind of conversations, but it can also be formal on whatever way. So we believe that we're really going to see through the dialogues that we're looking forward to organize, we can be able to invite, I think, donors to come on the space and be able to listen to all this that we just sharing with you now. Like in the beginning, we said we're just so excited and happy to see that finally we're able to bring this conversation externally after almost nearly a year of co-creation together. It's not been so easy, but yes, every time we come in, we find amazing things that we don't want to leave them out. So in that perspective, we want to see everything is compiled, and that's why we're here today. But we do very much we're opening up to listen to more conversations, to more donors. And even now, as I said, all of us as change makers are having mini dialogues, or what they call the country local dialogues. So where we also meet locally with those enablers, those funders that are here, and then also the activists together to see we're beginning the co-creation design. We need to see that, yes, the space we're coming into, we should collectively be able to own it. So listening to them is also very amazing. And I think one thing I really wanted to share was that skipped my mind was in the context of activists. Here you find that so far, yeah, you could see out the funding landscape that we're facing through is quite a bit hard, because from time to time, we work on different areas and different programmings, but at certain areas would have more advantage than the others. And then, for example, in the creative industry, you find like it's a bit very hard because there are those organizations who have to deal with cultural part of it, and it's very hard even to tap into resources along there. But then we really want to see that every part of development matters, every program matters. How can we be able to have a system that is open a lot, so that at least we can have so many activists who have the beautiful ideas, bring their ideas into reality. So this is something that really we're looking at. And then sometimes, let me just say openly here, like you find that activists from where I am, from the recent dialogue I held, you find that they're saying, now I feel better applying sometimes for actually funding to organizations that are outside, South Sudan. Why? Is because these ones that I hear, these INGs that gives grants, sometimes they've got a system, like we said before, there are people they just trust. If they see them apply, they are there. So it's an automatic thing that you're just going to get that. And then also you find this, like something is trending around now, mostly that you do me, I do you. So many of them would like to see that maybe it's either the system or the people put to run the system are the one trying to disorganize things from there. So many times they would want you to give something back to them so that you're able to get the project. They're able to give you the project in return. So these things is discouraging so many of the activists down here. And it is something that really, I just want to say, they've experienced a lot. And sometimes even those that are supposed to be here to sub-grant, they go down on the ground, they get the views of the activists, even they bring these organizations together, they're able to listen to the things they want, the beautiful ideas they're giving. At the end of the day, they compile these ideas and be able to draft and write their own proposals and send to the donors. When they get these funds, you see your idea that you told them, they're already implementing it. And they go deep down into the communities where the local organizations or the activists or the movement, they are supposed to be the one reaching there to be able to do the activities. Now, what will be our work as activists? What is our work as local organizations in this context? Now, if this is something that is happening, so many have been cited a lot around there, and this is really discouraging too. But we have to have these conversations. We want to see these hard conversations that sometimes maybe funders would not want to listen to them, because or else when we tell them what is happening from our own perspective, it's the same way that if you're going to tell us from your own perspective the things that you support, some of us won't feel happy. But we know it is life. We need to see, we need to work together to push the change that we want to see. So this is like something that has really been happening. But for us as activists, as change makers, our idea is not just about the money. For example, we're talking about this campaign. We're not trying to say funders should prioritize giving money actually to all the grassroots activists. Resources are so many. Like, for example, you could say for us, we will be giving you, maybe we'll be offering you space. We're giving a fund to support your somebody would come in and say, you know, for us, we're building your capacity. Is enough. Somebody would say, now for us, now we're giving you, maybe we're giving you some grants to implement these activities like this. So this is how people move. And then somebody would say, for us, we're giving you internet. You see? And these are things that for us as activists, we want to see happening, and we can be able to move. So where I came, well, the recent things I have, the dialogues we held, so many of them keep saying, they don't, to be honest, as I'm sharing from their perspective and experience of having the space to dialogue with them, like you see, we have so many grassroots movements or organizations that are set up, but you find we have to operate on more of a briefcase perspective, because we get a project of maybe 3 months, and then we have to rent a space for the 3 months, because if you as a donor wants to come to see us, you must find us, organize, we have a space. So we do that. And then if the project is for 1 year, meaning we're just going to have the space for the 1 year, and then if the project is ended, it's not renewed, we're going off. Yeah. We're going off, we will not have again a space to sit and be able to do our work. So can we be able to look into those perspective of resources that we want to see happening? If we can think about opening up a co-working space, for example, here, now, so that like those that have the ideas can be able to sit and be able to continue their writing, their lobbying, whatever they have to do there. You know, it's something that really we have to start thinking about if we want to improve the relationship with activists. Otherwise, this is something that's making them feeling already untrusted, as we say, the issue of the trust, and then work may not flow. If you're very far there, you want to see impact, you need to have people on the ground, the connections has to continue flowing from time to time. So like, this is just what I wanted to say that I left out. And thank you.
Sam, I love that idea of flow. I also love something you said about opening the systems. How do we build open systems so that more can be shared? I want to welcome, we don't have a lot of time yet. I just want to welcome Shreya. Am I saying your name correctly? I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. What would you like to offer?
Thank you. I just wanted to respond to what you said about what we can do to help donors, funders receive that invitation, because that has been a huge challenge on our part. And as Sam has already elaborately mentioned, a lot of the challenges that come with that. And at some point, I realized that we can do as much as we can to communicate in a way where funders or donors may not be triggered, may not feel disrespected, or may not be offended. But at some point, it's not up to us. And that it does require more and more grace and humility on the part of donors and funders to be willing to recognize that actually we're not being helped. There's actually so much damage that we're not able to talk about because of everything that Sam has mentioned. And so at some point, I kind of feel this urge to pass that baton and say, hey, Jennifer, if you have this experience, then you are in a better position of power and privilege and advantage, and on that side to be able to help create this space for us to be able to come in and say, if you've already set up this area where donors are willing to listen to us, then that gives me a little bit more strength and courage to be able to voice what I want to say. Unfortunately, I've had multiple experiences where I've tried to extend this invitation in various forms, and the responses have been very, very, very traumatizing and have made the work even more difficult. And so I think this is an amazing place to begin these conversations, to say, well, how do we say these difficult things? How do we say we're not being helped at all, and that we're just doing this because we have to survive, and this is where the money is coming in? And so yeah, I think it's more about trying to find allies who do have this experience of being the donor funder, who are beginning to awaken to the reality of what the underdeveloped, developing world is going through, and to be able to help us and come alongside us in this way. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us and being here, and thanks to Naro for rejoining us. We're here because it is a time of doing that challenging work together. So we know that hero savior paradigm is not working. It's really actually harming activists. There is active harm and trauma being enacted by the donor community. So we are here in recognition of that, and we are wanting to feel all of it. Feel the promise of connection. Feel the joy that comes with liberation. when we hold it together and not erase what's been done so that we can do it better. You know, I think that's what we're here to do together. And I'm just so grateful for everyone who's been part of this conversation. Thanks, Tina, for rejoining. I just want to honor the grassroots changemakers that were willing to talk about how hard this is, that are willing to tell the truth about how these relationships are fundamentally flawed. So how do we build another kind of relationship that includes an awareness of power that is deep, that is profound, that is challenging? And that's why tomorrow we're going to take this thread, all these beautiful ideas about open systems and seeing activists as human beings, and we're going to turn to the donors tomorrow in this in-between session. Donors who've been on this journey, who themselves hold multiple identities, who are trying to also from the inside chip away at the institutional things that break us from connection relationship. And I just would like to, in the last 2 minutes, to just thank you all, but also to turn to the writer, poet, musicians that in all of us, and actually ask, Naro has offered a poem that is one of her favorites, and has agreed to read it to us to close our session today. So thank you, Nicole.
Hello. So I want to share with you a poem by a fellow activist written in 1976 during the age of martial law in the Philippines. This poem has saved not only my life, but this has saved so many lives of so many Filipinos. And I wanted to share it with you. And this is the third stanza from a longer piece, which Emmanuel entitled Open Letters to the Filipino Artists. And now it's an open letter to all of us, and the artists in all of us. We are tribeless, and all tribes are ours. We are homeless, and all homes are ours. We are nameless, and all names are ours. To the fascists, we are the faceless enemy who come like thieves in the night, angels of death, the ever-moving, shining, secret eye of the storm. The road less traveled by we've taken, and that has made all the difference. The barefoot army of the wilderness, we all should be in time. Awakened, us the masses, our Messiah. Here among the workers and peasants, our lost generation has found its true, its only home. Thank you so much for listening.
Amazing.
So beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that part of your lineage and your heart with us. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Sam. We're really grateful to you, and we're really happy that this could be the premiere of talking about the campaign in this space. We hope it goes wide, it goes far, it goes deep. We ask everyone to follow those links and share it widely. And thank you all for whoever has come in today into the circle, who's been an observer on the outside. We value you. We're grateful for your willingness to engage. And as always, Healing, I just have to remind you as we leave that Healing Solidarity is a member-supported group. So I'll put the link in the chat that makes these kinds of conversations possible in this sector, in this time. It's hard to find donor funding for the real work. Can I get a hallelujah, amen? Take good care, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. And have
Okay,
fun.
salamat.